been a long time since I looked around at life and I remembered everything that I went through. And for the people that are ignorant to uh, captured videos, that's to the right. And even if you look to the left, it doesn't necessarily mean a lie. There are things that are factual that aren't 100% factual. There are circumstances and considerations that fall into those thoughts that change when the circumstances change and factors change, and people are factors. And I feel I have to clarify that because there are a lot of people that rather than living sound with the world, they'd rather live for the benefit of themselves. And where that was not something that I pursued, it's not something I want or wanted. And that's where I appear indifferent to some of the people that have chosen otherwise to be where they are. And I don't necessarily think that's right for me to do that to me just because they assume that I don't want what they want. It's just that I don't think I have to go about it the way that they have. And for every reason that I've lived the way I have, they're not understanding that that's not something that's reasonable. And pretty much why I won't go out of my way to do something that is unreasonable just to obtain something that I should have, that I have had and already, was a part of. People don't understand that when you seal a document and you lock a part of somebody away, they can't live their life as who they are, as who they were born as, and who they're meant to be. And that's what I've experienced. More than once before I turned 8 years old, and I'm overshooting here, like I'm overcompensating for time that I have lost due to these events occurring to me and what others do onto themselves because they feel I am a means to an end has become my issue. And what is unreasonable to live in life, because those are not circumstances that everyone has. And it's something that everyone chases because they think it provides them something that they can just obtain on their own. And for the people that had done that for themselves, I find it really upsetting that they would go out of their way to tarnish and diminish their accomplishments and achievements just to claim something that people like me who actually go through those things don't want to have to speak on, but feel cornered at the end of something because it happens in cycles. When something like this occurs, it happens in cycles because there's no way around it. I'm not sure if it was because, and I'm putting it like this because I'm not sure how the people on my birth certificate obtained me. And I understand I look like them, but to be awkward, there are, I don't know how many women that look similar to me that are not related to me. So put that into perspective in the ignorance that you all have. Now, I understand these things because I remember conversations in other languages across their families where I feel extreme distress and where I have lived life in the shadow of my own existence, locked away in a sealed document. They have used me and my situation as a means to an end to resort to claiming mental instability so they can get away with something that everybody witnessed. And it's easy for them to be a part of, as in the other side, like others, because they either get paid off or they get, all types of blackmailing benefits and assistance and what have you. Why sit here and suffer? And I can't do it anymore. So I'm sitting here in the middle of a real life situation where my back is against the wall and I don't know what to do anymore. And this is something like whistleblowing to you guys, but this is my life. This is my actual life. So however they obtained me, and to have me in the ghetto, as intelligent as I was, obedient, disciplined, and respectable, that was a problem. Constantly bullied, constantly picked on, constantly abused, because what they saw as nerve is respectable. Hello, how are you? How are you doing? Short answers where a child is not supposed to engage in adult conversation, where only the answer is vague, where you shouldn't speak on things you don't know or understand. And when you do, and you do so, and you try and do so in a respectable manner, you're apparently ignorant, arrogant, condescending, pretentious. And at that point, they justify and condone abuse because you need to, what they can resort to claim is conformity, and that's not the case either. So to grow up in the ghetto and be exposed to gang members, drug dealers, drug addicts, lab chemists on the street, and, authorities that have a situation that is, of extenuating circumstances, I didn't condone it or accept it, but I had to deal with it. And I had to allow for whatever to play out because I was a child and I couldn't speak on much. So for the things that I went through that people want to do something with, there are documents to it, and trying to copy those events, they're not occurrences. They're only occurrences in the criminal world, and it's not something that I wanted, but something I became subject to, just due to the fact that that's where my life started, the ghetto. And my intelligence was honored there, and I respected that. And had I remembered who I was, I would have honored that and lived that as best I could. But I couldn't do that around people that resented me for being who I was and being capable of something their own biological children were not. And that's not my fault. So rather than help me along life as you promised and made a commitment and agreed to, you completely diminished the value in who I am, broke my self-esteem, tore my whole life apart, and used the people around you that you do these things with to claim things and use their own credibility above my own, and then above what a child shouldn't and can't speak on. And I did not, because I could not. Nobody understands the fact that I almost died more than once at the hand of an individual. Physical abuse. My life was already shortened before I turned 8 years old, and I'm overshooting. Because at 3 years old and what I went through, I could have died, and I did not. I was physically traumatized. And I could have died, and I did not. Before I turned 6 years old, or around 6 years old or so, I was physically traumatized again, and they shortened my life again. And in that moment, 1 in trillions would only survive, and I did. And I did not die at the hand of a human being. All because it's either they're doing something they're not supposed to, and I'm witnessing something that I did not ask to be around people in the ghetto that I have no business being around, because somebody like me that values morals, values, ethics, and intelligence shouldn't be around people like that. And that's the truth. And I don't know how to say this other than I'm not sorry, because I think that should be known. After that, my life was already questionable to survival. When you go through something that physically traumatizing and you physically exert yourself just to forget what you're not capable of, you place it in other things, like academics. By the time that I had reached my senior year, I had the whole cycle of what I had gone through as a child started happening again, because the people around me had lied. And it gradually occurred. I had peace in middle school. I lived like a normal middle schooler. Rode my bike, got straight A's, and like I said before, I forgot to brush my teeth every now and then and didn't put deodorant on. What child doesn't forget to do that sometimes? Okay, I'm sorry that I don't wake up and look like a princess model every day, but I don't value looks over life. I don't value looks over characteristic traits that matter, and trying to allow for emotional and mental growth. Okay, it matters to me because I want to present myself as acceptable. But at the end of the day, the things that I value are above looks. And that's what I've given off. And I can't even sit here and rationalize where people don't understand the most calming peace that I had ever had, I could not have. Because I was normal in middle school after all of the trauma I had been through in kindergarten to second grade, and even before I made it to kindergarten. 3rd to 5th grade was like the greatest time of my life. Riding my bike, rollerblading, playing outside like a tomboy. But I am a girl, but I didn't care about those things. I don't want to hold your hand and kiss you. I want to play kickball. And they knew that about me. And they know that about me. And they just didn't realize that I valued academics. Where I couldn't physically exert myself in sports, I kept up in gym just so I can be normal, just so I can feel normal. I go through 6th to 7th grade, and in between that, in the summer, I go again through something traumatic, not due onto myself, not because I ask, but because it's done onto me, and they expose it to me. I didn't ask for something given to me against my will, and did something to me that traumatized me in one way. I had a gap of time, and I remember the end of the situation. And what haunts me the most is seeing a video of myself go through things that they have no business putting me through. The list of what is unacceptable there ends with one thing. They don't do for themselves where they do onto others for money. If they were what it is, and I don't care how this is taken because I'm at the end. If they are what it is, they wouldn't have done that for money, because they would have done the right things in life to obtain that. Just like everything else taken from me. The art, the writings, the lyrics, the dialogue. And it was more than to honor me. They were direct words. It was handwritten things. And the only reason why it took shape different now is because I had woken up from a coma and started remembering suppressed memories, and nobody knew. No one realized that when I woke up, I thought it was 2011, not 2016. And then where they constantly want to mess with my memory, they're attempting to scramble something that I need to live my life and be able to think clearly and have sense about myself. I can have all the logic and reasoning in the world, but if something like that occurs, where your whole life is sealed away, and your whole identity is taken from you, and you have to live, you're still living as yourself in some way, but you're locked away in yourself somewhere that it doesn't belong. It belongs to you. It belongs to me, actually. It's my life. And I don't know where people don't understand, like, why don't you guys care about the fact that your mother and father took care of you, they birthed you for real, they're your biological parents, and they care about you? And where people think they can speak on my life, they have no right. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. And you don't know what these people have put me through. But apparently, everybody is witnessing what they're doing that's unacceptable. And you think I'm wrong? I'm not wrong. And I know I'm not wrong. So I try and speak on it and speak against it. And I face obstacle after obstacle. Because clearly these people have some type of power Apparently people just like this type of control over people, or whatever it is, or it's just too big to deal with, and just say that and pass the ball to somebody above you who can actually deal with it, which is what I'm required to do. Okay, I'm not a vigilante. Okay, like I've said before, I'm a little tiny woman. I'm surprised I'm physically functioning. Okay, but where the medical field spit on themselves is where they try and discredit the very things that come from medicine. What you go into for a CT, MRI, all that stuff, that's medicine. That's on you guys then. So you're wrong. I went off of widely accepted information in science and mathematics because that's what makes sense. Where I can't find sense in my life, that makes sense. And where everybody decided to lie again, which is what started in 6th grade, where I didn't exactly intentionally lie. I gave a lie and a truth because it's not something you just speak about. And it's not something they care about. It's just something they use to a means to an end. And I wasn't wrong. Excuse me that I didn't grow up with these people or anybody else from a little, toddler age into adulthood where they think they can just do on to people they don't know. What was I supposed to do as a respectable citizen in my situation? I lived my life as best I could, and my life was shortened, not due onto myself, but from others. And now I'm being punished by the very people I thought I could trust. Now where do I turn? And they never stop what's wrong in the world. So where do I go with that? And where I'm not wrong, where does it matter to be right? And it's the same conversation that never is resolved. Because it's a means to an end for everyone else. And I'm not really sure how a whole county and state turns a genius into an average person. But I really am sure because I did it to myself just to remain as safe as possible. Survival is a lot more important than achievement, if you ask me. And that's something to teach everybody.